So we have been already, alhamdulillah, been able to go through the different parts of the alimentary canal. We have already talked about the mouth and the absorptions that take place over there. Sorry, the mouth and the digestions that take place over there. The structure of mouth, what are the important components, what forms the mouth. Then we were able to talk about the esophagus, and we were aware that in esophagus no absorption and no digestion takes place. It is just a connection between the mouth and the stomach. We were able to talk about stomach, the type, about the digestive juices that are there in the stomach, what type of digestion takes place over there, and the structure of stomach and its walls and everything. Then we are going to be moving on. We moved on to small intestine. We were able to talk about small intestine, the three parts that are there. It was uh, duodenum, and ileum. We were able to talk about them. We were able to talk about that small. What are the basically in a small intestine? We are going to find that digestion, and we'll able to see that both uh, digestion and absorption takes place in the small intestine, and the type of digestion that we are going to observe generally is chemical digestion, right? Most of them are hydrolysis. Hydrolysis was a process in which larger polymers or large molecules are broken down into smaller subunits or monomers, right? So let's begin with understanding the first structure of small intestine, and then the types of digestion that takes place, and what are the different digestion that is taking place, the nutrients that are digested and all of that. So small intestine, the adaptation. What is the structure and adaptation of small intestine? Small intestine actually has a very large surface area for absorption. All right, it has a very large surface area for absorption. The main surface of small intestine is folded, the inner surface. The inner surface of the large intestine is actually folded. If you look at it, this is how it's going to look like. Right? This is this is the outer layer, and the inner layer is generally has folds like that. All right, the folds have numerous minute finger-like structures or projections called villi, and on each of these folds there are multiple small villi, finger-like projections on each of these folds of the small inner layer of small intestine. You understand?
Gcse.
Right, this is how it is in the circular form and all of that. So generally it is going to be like this. There are folds like this in all of it, right? Generally going to be like this, the lumen, and then there are inner finger-like projections on each of these folds. All right, like that. Numerous folds, projections called villi, and the epithelial cells of each villi or villus, each villus in turn has microvilli, further increasing the surface area. What does that mean? So we have seen that there are folds like this, and on each fold there are villi like that, and the epithelial layer, like this is, if there is the, this is the villi, this is the fold, this is the villus, villi plural, and villus singular. All right, if you look at each of this villus, if you look at each villus, the epithelial layer, the outermost layer, actually has microvilli. It's going to look something like this. If you're going to take a section from there and look into it, look at it, you're going to find that this wall of villi is actually like this. Do you understand? Then there is a goblet cell.
Gcse.
So these are the, if you look at this wall, it's going to look like this, the microvilli. Microvilli or microvillus for each of them. And this is the goblet cell. Goblet cells are the ones that are producing mucus. We know that all of our alimentary canal is generally producing mucus, so that the food particle, the digestive substances are moving down the alimentary canal easily. So this is what the structure of an intestine is. This increases the surface area to a huge extent, right? So and each microvilli, actually, if you look at a villi, if you look at the villi has a certain special type of structure which looks like this, right? This is the structure of a villus. In villus, you're going to find three things. We are going to find lacteal, you're going to find blood capillaries, all right? And you're also going to find the microvilli on their epithelial cell on the outer side. Right? So this is basically the blood is taking all of the blood is responsible for taking, basically these blood capillaries take glucose and amino acids to the liver, right? And these lacteals, the lacteals are actually responsible for absorption of lipids. Lipids. They take the lipids into the lymphatic system and from there onwards to the heart. So these are the few things that already we have observed. Number one was that small intestine has a very large surface area. These are the adaptations. And how do they have a large surface area? Because they have folds, they have villi, and then they have a microvilli. These are the three things that increases the surface area of the small intestine. Then what is the next part? It is long and continuous with folds. It is long. So it longs, and there are continuous folds like this. And generally, if you look at it, this is how it is, right? Right? This is how it is, long and continuous. So being long and continuous makes it increases the time of the food spent in the small intestine, right? Being long and continuous helps the small intestine to retain food more inside it so that maximum digestion and absorption can take place, right? And this is for what? To maximize digestion and absorption. Maximize digestion and absorption, all right? And then further, each villus has a lacteal, a lymphatic capillary to absorb and transport lipids, also has a thick supply of blood capillaries for absorption and transportation of sugar and amino acids. All right, we have already drawn this, the structure, the lacteal and the blood capillary. Lacteal is responsible for absorption of the fat that has been digested and take it to the lymphatic system, and then from there to the heart and wherever it needs to be assimilated. And the blood capillaries are going to be absorbing glucose and amino acids to be taken to the liver, all right, through hepatic portal vein, all right. Rich supply of this supply of lacteal and the supply of blood capillaries actually also provides, it creates a concentration gradient for the absorption, right? Concentration gradient for absorption between villus and the lumen of intestine. You understand? So that the concentration gradient is created so that more substance is absorbed from the small intestine, the lumen of small intestine,
Yes, sir.
into the body, into the lacteals and the blood capillaries. Is this clear? Are you going to write this?
Yes, sir. सर मैंने लिख लिया है।
All of it?
जी।
Right. So what are the substances that generally are digested and absorbed in the small intestine? So glucose is absorbed in the small intestine, right? Glucose is absorbed in the small intestine. Most of it is absorbed by diffusion. So we are going to be talking about the diffusion, the absorption, right? Not the, we are talking about. We've already discussed how the digestion takes place in the small intestine, if you could recall. है ना? So absorbed in
Yes.
small intestine, most of it is absorbed by the diffusion. But if there is a high concentration of glucose in the blood versus intestine, at that time it is still taken up by the body by active transport. What does that mean? Generally, all the glucose that is being absorbed in the body is through diffusion. Generally, the lumen, the blood, the supplies that are brought into the in the villus. This is the villus, right? This part is going to be the intestine, and this is the lacteal inside the lacteal. This is the villus. This is the lacteal, and this is the blood capillary that is there, right? So most of the glucose over here, most of the time it is in high concentration, and inside it is of low concentration. So most of the glucose is absorbed by diffusion. But sometimes there is a high amount of glucose in the blood. At that time, the glucose is absorbed by active transport as well. So you have to keep in mind, you're going to definitely get a question how the glucose is absorbed in the blood from the small
For the
intestine.
energy, right?
Yes, by active transport, by the use of energy. Okay, definitely, Alijba, you're going to get this question in your MCQs for sure. Glucose is absorbed by active transport in your small intestine, and amino acids are by diffusion. The amino acids are also absorbed by through the same channel in which the glucose is being absorbed. All right. So amino acids, both of them are taken to hepatic portal vein directly to liver. They are by the hepatic portal vein directly to the liver. Once they are absorbed from the small intestine into the blood capillaries of the villus, those blood capillaries are going to take the amino acids and the glucose that is absorbed by the active transport and diffusion direct into the liver. From liver, the excess glucose is going to be converted into glycogen, and livers and amino acids are also used, are also assimilated over there. Is this clear?
Yes.
When we talk about the lipids generally, lipid and fatty lipids are converted, digested into fatty acids and glycerol, right? They are absorbed into the lacteals. They are absorbed into the lacteals, and lacteals are actually extension of lymphatic system that we are going to be studying in transportation. When we'll transport, when we'll discuss transport in animals or humans, we are going to see that over there. All right, what is the lymphatic system? But you have to keep in mind that the lacteal is actually a part of the lymphatic system that is present in the villus, and it is responsible for absorption of glycerol and fatty acids. Glycerol and fatty acids are absorbed into the lacteals. All right. What happens with the undigested and
So can you
unabsorbed?
repeat?
Right. I'm saying that that lacteals, if you could recall the villus, it was like this, right? Villi or villus. It had lacteals in it. Each villus has one lacteal, right? And it also has blood supply.
Yes.
The lacteals, this blue part, the lacteal are responsible for absorption of glycerol and fatty acids. Now, this lactyle is actually a part of a lymphatic system. We'll study about lymphatic system when we are studying transport in humans. All right. This lactyle is actually responsible. It takes this glycerol and fatty acids to the lymphatic system, and from there onwards, it goes to the heart. So, what happens to the undigested food? Undigested and unabsorbed food is temporarily stored in rectum, and when it becomes full, it is ingested through anus as feces. All right, as feces, which is this process is called defecation. Generally, dietary fiber is the one that we do not have enzymes for. So the dietary fiber is actually removed. Most of it is removed as feces. So what is the importance of dietary fiber? Basically, dietary fiber helps to create, or you can say retain, a volume for the food moving down the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal, right? It gives it a mass, it gives it a volume.
मतलब सर डाइटरी फाइबर का काम सिर्फ यही है कि
Yes,
it gets ingested.
it is, it gets ingested, it stays undigested, unabsorbed, right?
लेकिन क्यों?
Because we do not have enzymes to digest them. Humans do not have enzymes to digest. What is the main type of dietary fiber that is generally there? Cellulose. Cellulose is the dietary fiber that we generally, and where is cellulose present? The peels of the peels of the fruits, very leafy fruits, or very forage kind of fruits, which are very shrub type of foods, like pineapple. Sorry, like peel of an apple, peel of potatoes, right? And what else? Like we have a lot of lentils, right? A lot of lentils, a lot of husk, right? All of them, like chia seeds, type of seeds, they have dietary fiber in them, a lot of it, and it helps to create, or creates a bulk, a mass, so that the food can easily move down the peristalsis. If there is no mass, if it is just liquid, it will become difficult for the peristalsis to actually effectively move food down to each of the stages. All right, you understand? So it stays undigested,
Yes.
right? So do you have any questions regarding this?
No, sir.
All right. So this is about the absorption that takes place in the small intestine. So what we have to keep in mind about large intestine, the absorption in large intestine, absorption, that it is only water and mineral salts that are absorbed in the large intestine. That is it. All right. We have to keep in mind that most of the around 90% of the water has already been absorbed in the small intestine. Whatever is left, like 10%, almost, almost, I mean, 100% of this 10% is absorbed as into the as into the small intestine. All right, a large intestine in general.